There is a silent war waging across America right now that will determine if you ever truly own your home or if you remain a tenant of the state forever. Powerful forces are fighting to keep you paying perpetual rent to the government, but a growing movement is trying to wipe these taxes off the books permanently. Before we expose the specific states trying to abolish property taxes and the shadowy industries fighting to stop them, make sure you hit that subscribe button for Tax Hack Pro. We uncover the financial truths the government doesn't want you to know, and you do not want to miss our upcoming breakdown on tax loopholes for homeowners. There is a fundamental lie at the heart of the American dream. We are told that if you work hard, save your money, buy a house, and pay off the mortgage, you own a piece of this country. You are told that the land is yours, but try missing your property tax payments for a year or two. It does not matter if you have paid the bank every single penny you owe. It does not matter if your family has lived on that land for 3 generations. It does not matter if you are 90 years old and living on a fixed income. If you stop paying the government their annual fee, they will come with a lien, then they will come with a sheriff, and finally, they will take your home. This reality means that in the United States, you never actually own your property. You are renting it from the government, and the rent can go up every single year based on an assessment you largely cannot control. But right now, the tectonic plates of tax policy are shifting. We are seeing a historic clash between two ideologies. On one side, you have a growing coalition of states and lawmakers who want to eliminate property taxes entirely, not a freeze, not a discount, a total deletion of the tax. On the other side, you have a multi-billion-dollar ecosystem of special interests fighting tooth and nail to ensure you keep paying forever. Today, Tax Hack Pro is pulling back the curtain on this war. We are going to look at the specific states leading the charge for elimination. We are going to expose the hidden industry, the property tax industrial complex that profits from your annual bill. And we are going to explain why this isn't just about money. It is about control. By the end of this video, you will understand why the property tax debate is the most important financial battle of our lifetime. Let's start on the front lines. Where is this battle actually taking place? The biggest player in this arena is undoubtedly Texas. For years, Texas has touted its lack of a state income tax as a badge of honor, but homeowners there know the dirty secret. Property taxes in Texas are punishingly high to make up the difference. However, the political winds are shifting in Austin. We aren't just hearing whispers about lowering rates, we are hearing open debate about total elimination. With a budget surplus that has historically swelled to over $30 billion, Texas has the financial ammunition to actually do this. The strategy being proposed is often referred to as compression. This is where the state uses its surplus revenue to pay the school districts directly, essentially buying down the local property tax rates until they hit zero. Some legislators have pushed hard for this, arguing that a consumption tax, taxing what you spend rather than what you own, is the only moral way to fund a government. When the second largest state economy in the union is debating the total abolition of property taxes, this is no longer a fringe theory. It is a mainstream political movement. Then you have North Dakota. This state is fascinating because they didn't wait for politicians to broker a backroom deal. The people took it directly to the ballot box. In 2024, Measure 4 was put before voters, asking them essentially to end property taxes based on assessed value. While the measure ultimately faced defeat after a massive opposition campaign, the fact that it even existed is historic. Tens of thousands of people voted to fire their local tax assessors. This proves that the appetite for abolition is real, and it is terrifying the establishment. We are seeing similar grassroots fires burning in Kansas and Wyoming. In Oklahoma, the legislature has already moved to effectively eliminate property taxes for qualifying seniors, creating a class of citizens who truly own their homes. In South Carolina and Louisiana, constitutional conventions and legislative sessions are buzzing with the idea that the current system is unsustainable. This is a pattern. From the Great Plains to the Deep South, Americans are waking up to the realization that property tax is an archaic, feudal system. But why now? Property taxes have been around since the founding of the nation. Why is the year 2026 the tipping point? To understand this, we have to look at the perfect storm that has battered American homeowners over the last 5 years. The first factor in this storm is the assessment shock. Between 2020 and 2024, real estate values in America went vertical. We saw appreciation of 40, 50, even 60% in some markets. On paper, this looks like wealth. But you cannot eat your house. You cannot pay for groceries with your home's equity unless you sell it or go into debt. However, the tax assessor doesn't care about your cash flow. They care about the asset value. Suddenly, people found their tax bills doubling. The pain that used to be reserved for people in gentrifying neighborhoods suddenly hit everyone, everywhere, all at once. The second factor is the fixed income crisis. We have a massive generation of baby boomers retiring. They are moving on to Social Security and pensions. Their income is flat, but their property taxes are not. We are witnessing a slow-motion tragedy where retirees are being forced to sell the homes they raised their families in simply because they cannot afford the tax bill on an asset they have already paid off. This is a moral outrage that cuts across party lines. It turns the government into a predator that targets the elderly. The third factor is what I call the philosophical awakening. People are starting to ask the uncomfortable questions. If I can lose my home for not paying a tax, is it really private property? Or is it just a long-term lease from the county? As trust in government institutions falls, the tolerance for a tax on unrealized gains is evaporating. And make no mistake, property tax is a wealth tax. We would riot if the government sent you a bill every year for the increase in value of your stock portfolio or your $401,000, demanding cash payment on gains you haven't realized. Yet we accept it for our homes. That acceptance is breaking down. Finally, we have the proof of concept. States like Florida, Tennessee, and Texas have proven you don't need an income tax to thrive. Now the question is evolving. If a state can function without taxing your labor, can it function without taxing your shelter? The answer, increasingly, seems to be yes, provided you are willing to shift the burden to consumption. If you're tired of watching your hard-earned money disappear into the black hole of government waste, do yourself a favor and subscribe to Tax Hack Pro. We are building a community of taxpayers who are ready to fight back. Now, if the arguments for elimination are so strong and the support is so high, why hasn't it happened yet? Why did the measure in North Dakota fail? Why is Texas moving so slowly? To answer that, you have to follow the money. And the money trail leads to what I call the property tax industrial complex. This is not a conspiracy theory. It is an economic reality. There is an entire industry that relies on the complexity and the existence of property taxes to survive. If property taxes were abolished tomorrow, billions of dollars in revenue streams for private companies and public unions would vanish. Let's break down the layers of this opposition. First, you have the assessment industry. You might think your local government assesses your home. Sometimes they do. But often, they hire massive private data firms and appraisal contractors. These companies sell the software, the data modeling, and the consulting services that counties use to justify raising your taxes. They have multi-million-dollar contracts that would be worthless if the tax was eliminated. They have lobbyists, and they fight to keep the system complicated. Second, you have the tax appeal industry. This is the ultimate irony. There is an entire sector of tax attorneys and consultants who make their living fighting the very taxes they privately rely on. They charge you a fee, often a percentage of the savings, to argue with the county that your house is worth less than they say. If property taxes go away, these lawyers lose their clients. They profit from the unfairness of the system. The more broken the assessment model is, the richer the appeal lawyers get. They have zero incentive to simplify the tax code. They want it to remain a labyrinth, so you have to pay them to navigate it. Third, and perhaps most powerful, are the government employee unions and local bureaucracies. Property taxes are the lifeblood of local patronage. In many areas, the property tax revenue is a slush fund for local projects, administrative bloat, and contracts for political allies. The threat of elimination is a threat to their power base. When you hear opposition to these bills, it is almost always led by lobbyists representing county officials and municipal leagues. They are fighting for their own job security, not for your community's well-being. Fourth, you have the financial services sector. Think about your mortgage. You pay into an escrow account every month. The bank holds that money, often millions or billions in aggregate, earning interest on it before they pay the county once or twice a year. Eliminating property taxes eliminates that float. Then there are the tax-lien investors, predatory firms that buy the debt of people who can't pay their taxes and then foreclose on their homes for pennies on the dollar. These vultures are circling the state capitals, lobbying to keep the distress flowing. So how do these groups fight back? They don't come out and say, "We want to keep our contracts." No, they use a sophisticated playbook designed to scare you. The number one play in their playbook is the human shield. Whenever property tax elimination is mentioned, the opposition immediately screams, they are defunding the schools, they hate the children. The fire department won't come when you call. This is emotional manipulation. They never mention that the state could fund schools through sales tax or budget surpluses. They never mention that other countries and other jurisdictions fund services without taxing unrealized gains on shelter. They hold the schools hostage to protect the tax. The second play is local control. They argue that if the state eliminates property taxes, your local community loses its voice. It sounds democratic, right? But what they really mean is that local bureaucrats lose their ability to raise your taxes without your permission. They want the power to increase revenue on autopilot as home values rise, without having to ask voters for a tax hike. The third play is complexity. They make the system so confusing with millage rates, assessment ratios, and equalization factors that the average voter gives up. They bank on your ignorance. If you don't understand how you are being fleeced, you won't know how to vote to stop it. And finally, the most insidious tactic, divide and conquer. This is how they kill elimination movements. When the heat gets too high, they offer a carve-out. They say, okay, we will freeze taxes for seniors, or we will give veterans a bigger exemption. By doing this, they buy off the most sympathetic groups. Once the seniors are safe, they stop fighting for total elimination. The coalition fractures. The young families and the working class are left holding the bag, and the system survives. But the cracks in this fortress are starting to show. Voters are becoming more sophisticated. They are looking at states with no income tax and asking, if they can do that, why can't we do this? There is a deep philosophical divide opening up in America. It is a question of values. One side believes that wealth, even illiquid wealth like a home, should be taxed to fund the collective. They believe that the government has a claim on your assets. The other side believes that property rights are sacred. They believe that once you pay for something, it is yours. They believe that taxing a necessity like shelter is immoral. So where is this going? What is the future of the American homeowner? We are going to see a few major trends accelerate in 2026 and beyond. First, the vote with your feet phenomenon will explode. High property tax states like New Jersey, Illinois, and New Hampshire are going to continue bleeding residents. People are doing the math. They are realizing that over a 30-year retirement, a high property tax bill can cost them hundreds of thousands of dollars. They are moving to states that offer better protection. This migration will force high-tax states to compete or collapse. Second, the senior exemption will become the standard. Even in states that refuse to abolish the tax entirely, the political power of the baby boomers is too strong to ignore. We will see more states adopting the Oklahoma or Alabama model, where turning 65 essentially deletes your tax liability. This creates a two-tiered system, but it is a step toward acknowledging that taxing retirees out of their homes is political suicide. Third, Texas is the one to watch. If Texas successfully transitions away from property taxes, even if it takes a decade, it will break the psychological barrier. It will prove it can be done. Once one major domino falls, the argument that it's impossible evaporates. The pressure on other red states to follow suit will be immense. And fourth, we might see a push for constitutional protections. There is a movement to amend state constitutions to explicitly forbid the taxation of unrealized gains on primary residences. This is the nuclear option. If this gains traction, it bypasses the lobbyists and the politicians entirely. So what does this mean for you right now? If you live in a state like Texas, North Dakota, or Kansas, you need to be paying attention to your ballot. Read the fine print. Don't fall for the human shield scare tactics. Look at the numbers. Look at the surpluses. Ask yourself if you want to rent from the government forever. If you are in a high-tax state with no movement toward elimination, you have a hard choice to make. You are fighting an uphill battle against a deeply entrenched bureaucracy. You need to look at your long-term financial plan. Can you afford to retire there? If the answer is no, you might need to join the millions of Americans who are voting with their feet. And for everyone, regardless of where you live, you need to take advantage of every exemption currently on the books. Homestead exemptions, disability exemptions, veteran status, agricultural use. Millions of homeowners leave money on the table because they don't know the rules. This fight is about more than just your monthly payment. It is about the definition of freedom. Can you be free if you are forced to pay for the privilege of existing in your own home? Can you be secure if the government can seize your most valuable asset over a tax bill? The states that answer no to those questions are the future. They are attracting the capital, the talent, and the families. The states that cling to the old feudal model are the past. The property tax industrial complex is strong, but the desire for true ownership is stronger. We are going to keep tracking every bill, every ballot measure, and every victory in this war. We will tell you who is fighting for you and who is fighting to keep their hand in your pocket. If you found this breakdown valuable, if it opened your eyes to the reality of the tax system, please hit that like button and share this video with every homeowner you know. The only way we win this war is through education. And don't forget to subscribe to Tax Hack Pro. We are your allies in the fight for financial freedom. Leave a comment below. Do you think property taxes should be eliminated, or are they a necessary evil? Let us know where you stand. I read every single comment. Thank you for watching. Stay informed, stay vigilant, and remember, it's not tax evasion, it's tax intelligence. We'll see you in the next video.